Alright, hi there. This is Steven with Karma Astrology. I'm coming to you live from Santa Fe, New Mexico. Today is Thursday, May 6th, 2021. It is 10:18 a.m. here in Santa Fe. And as you can see, the moon is clearly in Purva Bhadrapada. It's in Aquarius up there. That MO is the moon. And you can see down here, I wrote this little text in to let you know how long it goes. It's going to be until May 7th, 2:56 a.m. in the Eastern Time in the US. So, the moon in Aquarius. It's about to enter Pisces, actually. But in Aquarius, the moon kind of makes us more sensitized or connected with society, culture, science, and technology, and any sort of kind of ideas or concepts that outlive us as individuals and help to propagate society and culture and let us live longer. So any sort of technological advancements that help our lifespans to extend a little bit longer, like medicine or anything from that to prosthetics and all sorts of advancements in civilization and culture that that just help us to, I guess, advance in a way. And sometimes that's for better or worse. Sometimes that can be through military advancements and but oftentimes, hey, sorry, dog's going a little getting a little excited about the cat today. So the moon comes into this sign and we feel just more connected to these things, or more interested in these ideas and these concepts. And then I'll get a little deeper. So the moon's been with Jupiter for a little while, and that in Aquarius, and that's kind of expanding our connection to our feelings of optimism and hope and meaning in our lives. It's kind of making us feel like maybe our feelings are a little bit larger than life, or we're just able to find this deeper sense of meaning and maybe a deeper sense of spirituality, and that could even be involved or kind of revolved around all this technology and culture that I've been talking about. So and then the moon going into basically being in Purva Bhadrapada. I'll talk about Purva Bhadrapada now. So Purva Bhadrapada, Purva means the earlier or the first. Bhadra means blessed, and Pada means foot. So it's the first of the blessed feet, or the first blessed foot. And that has to do, it's actually the first of a pair of nakshatras, or in Vedic constellations, one of the 27 constellations. And basically there are three different Purva and Uttara, the earlier and the later. And this is kind of the last one in the zodiac, because it's in Aquarius, which is the 11th sign out of 12. And it goes into the 12th sign, as Uttara Bhadrapada is the main section of Pisces that I'll be talking more about tomorrow. But anyways, first of the blessed feet is what it translates to. And I'll just get into the actual location in the sky first, because that's always fun. So I'm going to switch screens over here and get to the sky map so you can see where it isn't in the sky currently. So we can see the moon it's a little hard to see in the kind of light of day there, but if I go more towards, I guess, the beginning of the day, you can see the moon right there in the end of Aquarius, that kind of end section. And there's Jupiter, and there's Saturn that it just passed, as you can see in the chart. And it's getting very close to the sun. As we can see, it's, as I go further in the day, the moon is getting very close to the sun. That's why it's that little crescent. And you can see it kind of getting close to that, this, I guess, area of Pisces, the top of that diamond, this whole area. But in general, this Uttara and Purva Bhadrapada are the stars Shyat up here in Pegasus, and where is it? Markab. Here it is. So these are the two. If this is drawn a little weird, but these are four very bright stars. These two are actually the later in the Bhadrapada, and these two are the earlier Bhadrapada or Purva Bhadrapada as we are in today. So you can kind of see how the moon is in line. If you look at, I guess, a line perpendicular to the to that orange line. Sorry, if you look, you can see that it kind of lines up with these two stars in Pegasus, and these kind of four stars make up the kind of bed or cot that they refer to in Vedic astrology. And now we'll go back. So it's actually a part of Pegasus rather than in Aquarius, where this Purva Bhadrapada is, even though it's that section of Aquarius. As you can see, the moon kind of goes through the constellation of Aquarius and Pisces. Switching back now. Oop, on. Okay. There we go. Oh yeah, and so, yeah, I might as well say I use a lot of notes that I get are from Dr. Arjun Pai, who's a fantastic Vedic astrologer. If you haven't seen him before on YouTube, he has also Vedic astrology just company called Cosmic Insights. You might want to check him out. He has a lot of great information, and I've learned a lot from him and his books over the years since I've been studying, as well as other astrologers, but I use him as a primary resource for my nakshatra information, just to let you know. And then, let's see, so going back into the meaning of Purva Bhadrapada and what it represents. So I like to talk about the deity and the symbol, just to give you an idea of the energy we're working with. And the deity is called Aja Ekapada. And Aja Ekapada basically means the unborn one-footed goat, or it's kind of symbolic of like a storm cloud with a lightning bolt, that kind of one-footed aspect, or that single kind of spark of inspiration. And it is also kind of the fire dragon that is the mount of one of the ancient Vedic deities, or the precursor of Shiva, Rudra. So it's this big fire dragon kind of energy, and that energy kind of translates into the energy of today in a lot of ways. There's this tremendous amount of power, and it's kind of coalescing in this part of the zodiac, this part of the sky. We tend to think that all of these nakshatras or constellations build upon each other, and the energy grows and grows, and it's kind of representative of the life cycle of a person or any animal or plant. But it shows this kind of transformational aspect of us going from the beginning nakshatras being kind of our youth to the ending nakshatras being kind of our death or our old age. And this is the third to last of the nakshatras, so it's definitely towards the end, and it shows this kind of coalescing of energy and power into this single foot, or this single kind of lightning bolt, or you can even think of it as like a unicorn or something like that. This just concentration of energy and power that kind of comes into this part of the zodiac. And the symbol of this nakshatra is the two crossing swords, or it could also be kind of the skull and crossbones, or any sort of I guess the sword in general, because it's about, not only is it kind of this it represents battle and the ability to fight, but also, the sword is symbolic of our ability to cut through difficulty, or to cut through negativity, or like trim the fat to get to the truth or the meat of whatever we're looking at and studying, and the essence of life in a way. So there's this penetrating nature to a sword, of course, because it can really slice through a lot of the fluff and the BS that we kind of experience in our lives. And there's this penetrating quality of a day like today where we're looking deeper and we're kind of observing maybe the underlying principles or concepts behind, everything that we're confronted with on a day like today. There's a passionate nature to today. It makes us, in Purva Bhadrapada has this kind of passionate and indulgent quality where we're really looking to explore and get to the bottom of things, and it causes us to be a little more opinionated, and at the same time it gives us pretty good speaking abilities and the qualities that make our insights and our intellect a little more sharp and honed like the sword. This nakshatra also can kind of tend to make us more hungry and love. It gives us kind of a love for good food, and ironically we're actually on the 11th day of the moon cycle, or the 11th day of the waning moon, and that shows this ability to, or the 11th day in general is Ekadashi as it's called in Sanskrit, is the day of fasting. Actually, it shows our so ironically, the nakshatra where the moon is today makes us kind of hungry, yet the phase angle of the moon as it relates to the sun, and gets more and less full over time. This is the 11th out of 15 days of the waning or waxing phase, but this is actually the waning phase, and it shows this kind of voracious, or that phase angle shows the opposite of voracious eating. It shows that we don't need to eat, that it's the day of fasting. There's 2 fasting days each month, if you didn't know, and they're the 11th day of the waning moon and the 11th day of the waxing moon. Typically the waning moon, if you're just going to do one day of the month, is going to be the day, and that's today. So I recommend fasting on a day like today, and the reason is because we're on this day we're just a little more sensitive and sensitized to all the little subtle nuances of life and just little subtle energies that are around us. So the idea is that if we don't eat, if we kind of take today as a fast day, then we're not influencing our mind and our bodies with food. We're just kind of this open canvas, or this blank canvas, that allows us to experience all the little subtleties, the energetic subtleties around us. So it's a great day for meditation in that regard, the 11th day is. And it's supposed to be a day in which we're kind of doing our spiritual practices and getting very still, calm, and quiet, and kind of heightening our perceptibility and our all of our kind of spidey senses, as you might say. So keep that in mind. If you haven't eaten yet today, it's a good day to fast, or you can fast for the rest of the day if that's interesting to you. You just might not be too hungry on a day like today in general, and it's good to respect your body and its desires. Although, if the moon is in Purva Bhadrapada, and it's especially if it's conjunct Jupiter, as you can see here, that kind of, Jupiter is this expansiveness, and moon is our sense of nourishment in a lot of ways, so sometimes that can really override that 11th day and cause us to really want to eat and give us this voracious appetite, especially with the moon in Purva Bhadrapada. So, getting back to the notes, another symbol actually for this nakshatra is the two-faced man. So like Harvey Dent in Batman. And there's the aspect or the concept of the two-faced man shows, well, one is we probably all know that, maybe a shadow side to your personality that you're hiding from other people, or this kind of internal nature that we have, and the desire to shield that or veil that from others. And in another sense, it shows the ability to kind of look into our past lives, and on one side, and then on the other side, kind of look into the future. And so it gives us this heightened awareness of where we are currently, because we are able to kind of observe our mistakes or our successes from the past, our victories from the past, and also kind of see how it's going to play out into the future. So really good for forecasting and that kind of thing, or to see where we are just in general in our lives. And this can relate to kind of the end of life, where we're looking back at maybe this life that we've just lived, and then we're kind of looking forward to the afterlife and seeing and wondering about what's to come. I think we're at that precipice right now. In general, it's a good day to reflect on what we've gone through over this past year and what we hope to go through over the next year, and kind of use that to be able to take action currently and live in the present moment with the understanding of with this kind of the wisdom that we've gained, and that kind of forecast of knowledge that we're expecting. So a good day for reflection in both directions. The star is also related to personal transformation in that regard, because it allows us to reflect and make progress in the moment. Bless you. This star can give us kind of a fiery temperament and an independent nature in a lot of ways. So today you can feel, when the moon's going through it, that's when we're feeling this kind of maybe a little more fired up, a little more jazzed or activated energetically, and more kind of in line with our own spirit and our own goals and our own kind of ideas, even though this is also related to, Aquarius in general is related to society and our network circles in a lot of ways. And this can really relate to our secret societies or things like that as well, just like the last nakshatra as well, Shakti Bisha. So there's this kind of there's this fieriness, there's this independence, and a deep kind of connection to our sense of wisdom or teachings that we're learning about, and maybe we're practicing with our groups or our, whatever we're a part of. An interesting thing is there's a lot of sacrifices in the Mayan civilization that were associated with this section of the sky. I think that's kind of interesting and a little creepy, but maybe it's a good time to sacrifice some of the things that you don't like in your life, or things that aren't serving you anymore, and you can take that kind of sword and cut them out. It's not a bad day for aggressive action. It actually helps us on a day like today because we're a little more refined in our mind and able to cut through things easily. We can cut out the negativity in our life. It also has an energy on a day like today to give us, the energy gives us a heightened sense of cunning and cleverness, and it can make us more fickle and stingy in a way, but it can also, for better or worse, if we're not being charitable enough, if we're not giving to others or thinking about others, or if we're only thinking about us and ourselves and our groups that we're a part of, we might be kind of at odds, like the swords with that symbol of the crossing swords. That can kind of symbolize us being at odds with others in general, and kind of challenging them and taking them on for better or worse. And then in terms of just getting into it, the strengths and weaknesses, just to kind of wrap it up, one of the strengths on a day like today is that we feel a little more eccentric and unique and creative and clever. It can make us give us more of a scholarly attitude, where we are more interested in learning and researching. It can give us a heightened sense of wit, kind of, to connect with that kind of independent theme. Let's see, it can make us more economical, which is a good side. Maybe not so good is our stinginess on the other side, kind of like what I was alluding to. This can give us more of a spiritual depth and this kind of passionate or warrior attitude. It can make us idealistic and principled in the good ways, and in kind of the positive side, more mystical, and looking, where we're kind of open to all the different possibilities of reality and truth, and what we don't necessarily know in the mainstream or in the mainstream scientific community might be a little lagging in terms of the actual breaking cutting edge research and stuff like that can be associated with a day like today, this kind of visionary research. And so it's definitely a day to think about scientific pursuits and technology, stuff like that as well. It can give us a really good imagination as well that kind of taps into that creativity and all that. And it makes us really good at reading people and kind of seeing their hidden motives, or maybe being able to observe that dark two-faced, the dark face of the two-faced nature in people sometimes. In terms of the weaknesses or shadow qualities, it can make us a little too skeptical and pessimistic and negative, kind of gloomy. It can give us more anxiety or nervousness, give us a little too much anger when the moon is in this part of the sky. It can make us feel a little too impulsive and make us high-strung or stingy in a way, like I was saying, with our money and our service to others. Keep those in mind. We can be a little too susceptible to succumbing to fear and stress and nerves if difficult things happen in our lives. So keep in mind it's good to kind of keep your confidence up a little bit more than you normally would need to try to do that if you have self-esteem issues. And then in terms of favorable activities, like I've been talking about, it's not a bad day to take on challenges and dangerous activities and risks. It kind of has that aggressive fighting energy in a way. That fire dragon allows us to kind of attack our weaknesses inside ourselves, ideally, maybe weaknesses inside other people or who we perceive to be weakening us in a lot of ways, that kind of Martian quality of life. It can give us it's a good time to deal with technology and technological advancements if you do anything in those fields, if you're a scientist or whatnot. It's a good day for endings, conclusions, for dealing with death and dealing with those difficult aspects of life. And then also anything kind of dealing with your gardening, or it's a good time to deal with maybe agriculture if you have a job that involves that, and anything dealing with water as well. Good day for watery activities, as this kind of Aquarius, Pisces part of the zodiac can get very kind of watery. So it's nice to just take a bath or a shower, or do a rain dance or whatever you like to do. In terms of unfavorable activities, it's not a good day to start new things and new beginnings, anything like that, or initiation ceremonies. Not a great day for sexual activity again, or kind of marital activities, you could say. That might be an antiquated way of putting it. And not necessarily the best day to deal with authorities or those who are in power. It can kind of work against us and cause us to kind of implode on a day like today, so keep that in mind. But there's a lot of transformation that's capable on a day like today when the moon is in Purvabhadrapada. And I think that Jupiter being next to the moon, as I've been talking about, really helps us to kind of see the bigger picture and expand our perspectives, expand our connection to culture and society and science. And those are things that we really want to be focusing on a day like today. And then also towards the end of the day, at least here in the United States, and it's going to be already on the 7th in other parts of the world, in India and Australia and Europe, because we're so far behind you guys. But the moon will be in Pisces by that time, and so we're gonna be getting a little less kind of involved and into culture and all of these kind of human concepts and ideas and things like that. just society in general, and kind of just involved. And we'll be more into the Piscean aspects of kind of surrendering, letting go, just kind of going with the flow, kind of surrendering to the flow of life, as they say. That's kind of a nice vibe that we're heading into. And then in terms of other things, I'll just kind of talk a little bit about some of the other parts of the sky, in case that interests you. I'm sure it should. But the sun has been in Aries for a while. The sun is known to be, there we go, it's mirrored for me, but the sun is SU in Aries. That's actually exalted, or in its strongest sign in Aries. It's very happy there, and the sun is really related to our spirit and our connection to our spirit, and kind of our ability to be a unique individual that has that's unique and confident and kind of righteous and honorable in terms of sticking up with for what we value and who we are, as an individual. And in Aries, it kind of gives us the fire and the excitement and the potential. I might need to let my dog out, but it gives us that kind of passionate, fiery, go-get-'em type of energy that allows us to believe in ourselves and to have more of that sense of confidence and self-esteem. So that kind of helps the moon, even though the moon being in this part of the sky that might cause a lack of self-esteem. So the sun is kind of boosting us up, at least. That might negate that a little bit. And then, let's see, Venus is in Taurus. I've been talking about that a little bit in the last few videos, but if you haven't seen those, Venus is in its own sign. It's very happy. It makes us feeling oriented. It makes us very sensual and connected to all things that are pleasurable and joyful. It can show that our relationships are a little more harmonious right now because we're focusing on making everyone feel good and happy and respected. And Mercury's there to help it out a little bit and give us a sense of intelligence and a deeper sense of thought and intellectual awareness around what feels good and makes us happy. Oh, hi, Deepthi. I actually don't analyze birth charts on these streams, but I do offer personal birth chart readings. If you want to check out the link on my homepage, or I guess on my YouTube channel page, I have a little link there, or you can check out the link in the description of the video below to book me for a reading or talk about what I can do for you in like a 10-minute chat. I have those two options for you. And then Rahu, or the north node of the moon, is there with Venus and Mercury, kind of making us obsess over whatever feels good and all these kind of sensual things that I've been talking about. And I haven't mentioned Saturn in a while, so Saturn's over there in Capricorn in its own sign. It's actually with Pluto. That's the PL with the R, meaning retrograde, next to it. But Saturn is the planet of commitment, determination, being serious, and making things with the kind of desire to make things last a long time. It gives us a sense of endurance, and it makes us focus on things like longevity and all of the practical ways and things we need to do and ways that we need to act in order to make our bodies last a long time, in order to make anything in our life lasts a long time. So, our commitment to our diet, to our spiritual practice, to our relationships, it makes us want to commit, or it's Saturn kind of teaches through grief and pressure in our life and kind of gives us this sense of dread in a way. I hate to say it, but it's true. In order to motivate us to commit to things that aren't necessarily pleasant. So when Saturn comes into Capricorn, its own sign, it's feminine sign, so it makes us feel more just more in tune with these principles of commitment and determination, and it can cause us to build great things and great foundational structures to things in our lives. Like Saturn and Pluto and Jupiter all went into Capricorn right when this whole debacle across the world happened, and last year, of course, I'm not going to mention it because I think you get shadow banned if you say the COVID or whatever. But yeah, so Saturn was kind of, when it went into Capricorn, that's when this whole thing started happening. And that was really, in astrology, we can see that was to really teach us how to commit to our health and wellness, and in ways that allow us to live longer and to not, perish. So it's a pretty serious planet. It's the most serious planet, and it really causes us to lay the foundation for everything in our lives. So it's very important in that regard, and it's just the base essence of who we are. If you want to have a body, if you want to be if you want to stay alive, if you want things in your life to last, then everything that you do in order to preserve them is related to the planet Saturn. So all of your systems and structures in your life, maybe your regular eating schedule or your diet and those things, are definitely related to Saturn in its essence. And I might as well just go all the way and talk about Mars as it lies up there in Gemini. And Mars in Gemini, makes us... Gemini is this sign... Well, let's just talk about Mars first. Mars is our ability to stay alive through taking action, rather than Saturn, which is kind of this sense of preservation and stillness and the foundation. Mars is more about when we need to take action because we're under threat, or or we feel like we're under threat, whether we are actually under physical threat or not. Maybe it can be more in the psychological threat or mental threat. If we're getting made fun of or picked on or something like that. Mars is our ability to protect ourselves and defend ourselves and stand up for those that we perceive to be, or stand up for those that are, that we want to protect, that we love, and that we connect to. So it can show us like standing up to anyone, really, and on the other end, it can show us kind of pushing ahead and forcing our will on other people. It's kind of this conquest type of planet that allows us to survive and live through conquering in a way, and that's unfortunately a very difficult energy to deal with, because in the end of the day we need to be focused on conquering our own inner weaknesses rather than our perceived weaknesses in the world that we're not necessarily able to protect ourselves from all the time. And when Mars comes into Gemini, Gemini is this kind of loquacious, wordy, creative, intellectual sign. It's the masculine part of Mercury, which is kind of the intellectual planet. And so Mars coming into Gemini shows that we might be feeling more defensive with our words, with our speech. We might be learning new information and learning new techniques in order to be able to defend and protect or attack our weaknesses or weaknesses in others. So there's a sense of kind of education in Gemini where we're learning, we're experiencing things, and we're kind of taking in knowledge, where there's this thirst for information in Gemini, where it's our intellectual mind is trying to take on new concepts and learn new things, and in this case, in order to protect and defend ourselves, with Mars being there. So careful with the harsh speech, although it is very helpful on a day like today with the moon in this kind of fiery, passionate, aggressive Purva Vajrapada. It can be very helpful with us if we do need to take something down, if we need to stand up for what's right, and for those who are being downtrodden or attacked by others. And I would not recommend, I would never recommend doing anything that's kind of at the expense of others, because we all are, one spirit in many forms. So once we realize we have that universalized perspective, then we don't necessarily need to fight and attack and go on the aggressive side as much as more of like a defensive posture when people are kind of encroaching on our liberty and our freedom and our rights and integrity, and those who we wish to protect as well. That's more of the, there's a saying in libertarianism where we want, there's the non-aggression principle and there's the self-defense principle. And so we don't want to aggress on others. We can aggress on our own weaknesses and stuff like that, but in essence, we still want to be strong. We still want to be able to defend and to fight, but for righteous reasons and in defense. There's no need to aggress on others. But there is a need to defend ourselves if other people are picking on us or hurting us or those we love or anybody, really, because we do need to stand up for each other and protect each other. And that's gonna be it. So I hope you got a lot out of this. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment below. Subscribe if you want to see these videos. I do them on a daily basis to give you an idea of the energy we're going through. And otherwise, hope you have a great day. Peace and love. Take care.